Hey there, Dr. Mark here. In today's video, I'm going to answer the question, how do I change macro targets for my nutrition clients? To do this, I'm going to show you exactly how to make macro adjustments and work through how to adjust macros and when, where the food drop or addition is coming from, and how different goals like fat loss or muscle gain impact this process. By the end of this video, you'll know how to make adjustments for a bunch of different clients and feel confident you can coach anyone to great results. Let's dive into today's video. In 90% of situations, when it's time to make an adjustment in your client's nutrition plan, you're going to be making an adjustment of 5 to 10% calories. If this is positive or negative, it'll depend on your client's goals, which we're going to discuss later, coming mainly from carbs and fat. We don't normally touch protein in most cases, although there are exceptions which we'll touch on later. What this looks like as an adjustment from actual nutrition looks like this: a 50 to 200 calorie adjustment coming from between 0 to 50 grams of carbohydrates and 0 to 20 grams of fat, depending on where it's the easiest to add and where it's the easiest to take from. And let's break that down. So let's say that you have someone with food targets like this: 1800 calories, 140 grams coming from protein, 200 grams coming from carbohydrate, and 50 grams coming from fat. To push them further into fat loss with a greater deficit, we would want to make a 5% calorie drop, or around 100 calories coming mainly from carbohydrates or fat. If we take a look at the breakdown from this diet for a second, doing some quick math, you'll see that in this diet, there's around 44% of the calories coming from carbohydrate and 25% of the calories coming from fat. And since both of these are on the lower end of the macronutrient distribution range, which does happen a lot in fat loss cases, there's not a clear winner on where we should take from. So in this case, we can do a combination of both, or we can make the change based on preference if they prefer carbs or fat. But if it's both, in this case, we'll be taking away 5 grams of fat and around 15 grams of carbohydrate. For new targets of around 1700 kcal, 140 grams of protein, 185 grams of carbohydrate, and 45 grams of fat. Usually when we're making adjustments to macro targets, we're not going to touch protein. But keep in mind that protein does have calories and it provides energy. So at a certain level, adjusting it may become a necessity. And for clients looking to gain weight, it does actually have an opposite effect as it does in fat loss, meaning it's tougher to eat more and more protein. So there may even be situations where we take some protein away the higher up the calories get. Remember, the macronutrients are the large components of our food that we measure in grams, protein, carbohydrates, and fat that provide calories or energy in our diets. So we don't just adjust calories without making a change to macronutrients, and vice versa. You don't adjust macronutrients without making a change to someone's calorie or energy intake. But there are several things that go into how much you should be adjusting, like a client's goals and results so far. So let's chat about that. When a client is eating at energy maintenance, meaning they are consistently eating as much energy as they are burning, their body weight stays static for the most part. Now, can someone actually eat and burn the same amount of energy each day? No 2 days are ever going to be quite the same. But if we take a step back and look at the big picture, most days are going to be pretty similar. So once we figure out someone's maintenance energy requirements, which is essentially how much food they need to eat to maintain their body weight, we can set an amount of food or targets that'll help them reach their goals. So we can start to see it this way. In the middle, we have someone's maintenance calories. For fat loss clients, this means pushing them into a calorie deficit. For muscle gain or performance-based clients, this means pushing them into a calorie surplus. So when you start working with a nutrition client, you set these numbers and then assess how they are working and progressing through time. If things aren't progressing how you would like, we start to consider the adjustments that we're talking about today. In most cases, making a further calorie drop so they can continue to lose weight, or vice versa, continue to add in calories so they can continue to gain weight. Now, the further you go in either direction, the more you start to consider if they aren't getting any results or the results that you would expect, are they actually doing this? Because most people should get considerably leaner from a 10 to 20% calorie deficit. So we need to consider, are they actually sticking to this, or is there something else going on? Of course, someone's energy expenditure can adjust or adapt to prolonged periods of dieting. But in most cases, this is an adherence or sticking to it issue. What this looks like the majority of the time is that when we start working with a client, we set them up on the level of food that is a best guess on where they should start, which means a modest calorie deficit or surplus of around 10%. Then we make 5 to 10% adjustments along the way to keep them progressing. Now, keep in mind, there's always going to be discrepancy between what you ask someone to do, which is the science of this process, and what they actually do, which is going to be the execution. But we're just trying to be as accurate as we can be with what we prescribe and what we suggest. Now, a lot of what you change might not actually be based on the science. There's an art to this process, and we'll consider that when we start to think about when do we make these adjustments. When you make these adjustments is going to be based on how things are going, namely the results, the timeline, and where your client is at. feedback. Here's how you know when to make a change. Number one, we're thinking about results and feedback. On a weekly basis, you're assessing how your clients are progressing. If they have body composition goals and they're consistently seeing 0.5 to 1% body weight change on average per week, then things are going pretty well. But if they aren't seeing that for consecutive weeks and adherence is pretty good, then this is when we start to consider, should we make a food adjustment? In most cases, you're not going to be making adjustments every 2 to 3 weeks because it takes at least that long to apply the feedback you're making and really assess if things are working. If you take away anything from this video, it would ironically be this. In most cases, you don't need to make an adjustment. Your client just needs to stay put. Patience is the best bet, and most of the time, your job isn't going to be tinkering with the numbers. It's going to be assuring your clients that they're on the right track. But you're also going to be listening to your clients' biofeedback, namely their hunger and energy levels. If they aren't feeling super hungry or full, perhaps that's when you can make a change. This type of feedback is just as good as following any sort of protocol or how things should work. Client isn't seeing great results, they're also not hungry, we can probably get away with making a food adjustment. What I can tell you is this: you can't make any adjustment or changes within days because the feedback you're getting in days won't tell you much. I remember one of my powerlifting training partners starting to work with a new nutrition coach about 10 years ago. He got his new food levels and was super excited to get started. But the coach started to adjust his food levels every 2 to 3 days depending on what the scale was doing. Since he wanted to gain weight, if the scale was going up too fast, this coach was taking food away. And if he wasn't gaining enough weight within days, she would start to add food in. And this to me was really misguided because you can't tell what's going on within days. We need to take a step back, assess averages, take a look at trends, and make adjustments based on that. That's what's going to be best for your client results, but also your coaching. One thing, however, that will influence when you make changes is if the client has any strict timelines. If the client has a timeline, for example, they have an event or a performance going on, you may need to be more aggressive with your adjustments. Like for example, if they're competing in a weight class sport or if they're preparing for something like a vacation, you may need to get to the most aggressive part of the diet sooner. But for many clients without a hard deadline, remaining patient and staying where you are is usually the best move. I've had many clients that are doing really well, cruising along, getting great results that don't need to make any adjustments for months. Actually, one client stuck with the same level of food for 15 straight weeks, making progress, getting results, feeling good. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's also an art to nutrition coaching, which we're going to talk about next. Also, keep in mind, depending on where you start your client will impact the adjustments that you make. And that's where there's a science and art to this stuff. See, the problem is with many nutrition coaches that they rely too much on what the textbook says that they should be doing or what's optimal. So they set macronutrient targets based on where they think the client should be, not where the client is currently at and where they should go. This makes the initial adjustment to a diet or a new way of eating too hard to stick to. So the client can't really adjust and keep up. And here's where it's important to understand the art of nutrition coaching. Start someone not too far off from their normal nutrition intake and habits, get some results, and start to make adjustments towards optimal. In this scenario, this normally means adding in protein slowly while keeping the calories consistent. So for example, from the client that we had eating around 1,800 calories and 140 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbohydrates, and 50 grams of fat. Maybe when they started, they weren't even eating 90 grams of protein per day. So we wouldn't start them right at 140 grams of protein per day. That would be overkill. We'd be better off starting at around 1,800 calories, but probably closer to 110 grams of protein and making up the calorie difference with around 210 grams of carbohydrate and 60 grams of fat. And then slowly adjust our macro targets through time towards what is optimal. These small objective changes towards where they should be gives the client time to build the right habits and allows their actions to catch up. Now, there are always going to be exceptions to how we make macro adjustments. Are you ready for me to throw all the rules out? There are two main scenarios where I would do things based on feel versus the science. And the first one is making an adjustment to keep a client engaged. After a while, even if things are going well for a client, you may want to shake things up and make an adjustment to keep a client engaged. Many times, this is more for you as the coach than it is for the client because you want to feel like you're providing enough value. But it may also prevent the client from getting complacent and give them different things to focus on. Keep in mind, the main reason why any of this nutrition coaching stuff works is because clients are now focusing and becoming more aware of what they're eating. Sometimes you can make a food adjustment and it'll allow them to refocus. But there's also a second scenario, and this one's a little bit more woo-woo. And that's number two, the client believes that this change will make the difference. I went to university for 11 years. I have the highest degree you can achieve in the science of nutrition. But let me tell you this, there is no amount of scientific evidence that will trump the belief that something will work. So if a client is saying, you know, if we just drop the carbs, I really think that would make the difference. There are gonna be some scenarios where we should just listen. And that's it, coach. That's what you need to know about how and when to make macro adjustments for your nutrition clients. But as great as all those tips are, if you're really serious about starting a nutrition coaching business, the next thing I'll have you do is check out this video I've linked up right here. You may not need to make any food adjustments at all if you can just get your clients moving more. So you're gonna learn how to do that right here. So make sure to check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video.